Welcome to Viva New Mexico. I'm your host, Jamie P. I am delighted to welcome to the studio today the renowned, the net actress, screenwriter, independent producer, and professor, DezBaa. Thank you so much for joining us, Des.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, I'm a big fan of Dark Winds and was thrilled to hear that you joined the writing room for season 2. How did it feel to step into that role?
It was insane. I was like I didn't believe that I was able to get that to happen. We were originally set to go to Santa Monica, so when I had the interview with the showrunner and, who's asking me questions, like a little bit of my norteña española kind of came out because I had my kid and I said, well, my kid's in the other room, and so like we're good to have this talk. We're uninterrupted, and he's like, oh, kid. And I said, yeah, my kid. Kind of like, and?
What's wrong with that?
Yeah. And then so he's like, well, we'll just keep talking. And so but by the end of the interview, he's like, well, I wish I had known about you 4 weeks ago. He's like, I would have hired you sooner. That way you would have had more lead time to know that I need you to start working in Santa Monica next week.
Pronto.
Yeah, this was a Tuesday. And so he's like,
goodness.
yeah, he's like, he's like, because you have a family, he's like, I'll give you 24 hours to decide whether or not you want to move forward with this. And I said, sure. And I immediately started freaking out. I called one of my best friends. I'm like, do you know of a place that I could stay in Santa Monica like next week as soon as possible? And I managed to find a place. As soon as I secured that, then I was like, all right, I'm ready to go. I had the conversation with my kid. I told him, I said, I have something really important to tell you. I have this opportunity. We have this opportunity to help make our dreams come true in the sense, I really want to own my own house. I want to be able to provide for you on my own terms. I'm a single mother, so it was just, yes, I just really wanted to let her know that this was not just important to me, but I felt like this was important for us as a family. And the kid was 9, I think, at the time. And so she's, before I could even finish, she's like, do it, Mom. And I was like, whoa, okay.
Great to have the support of your kid.
Yeah, I knew that I had to broach the subject with my family first, because so often, especially in Hollywood, we shouldn't be based on their terms, but it's just you hear the stories of mothers and people just putting their kids last. And, they put their careers first and they put themselves first. It was like, no, I can't do that to my kid. The whole point of me living in Santa Fe and being in this film industry is because I felt like it was a calling to be a storyteller and participate in this. But I need to do it judiciously. I need to do it with care. And so it was amazing to be able to have that opportunity. Turns out that we ended up having a Zoom room anyway. So I got to be able to take my kid into school every morning, pick her up from after school care every day. It kind of felt like a little bit of Solomon's dilemma with the mothers and the baby, kind of backwards, where, which is the real mother? And, the mother who said, no, it's okay, take the child. I don't want to have the child harmed. Because Solomon's idea was to split the baby in half because these two women were fighting over the baby. He's like, okay, we'll just split it in half. And she's like, no, it's okay. He's like, you're the real mom. And I kind of felt in that way that I don't want to say I was sacrificing my kid, but I was trusting the universe that the decision that I was making was the right one.
Everything would fall into place.
Yeah. And I looked at it as my lesson in, so many times we say, no, I can't do this. Or I don't have the money, or I can't figure out how to make this work. And I really had a lot of no's for me. I was really worried that at the time, their dad was going to try to take her away from me because we were separated, saying that I was a neglectful parent or something. And I just no, the universe has my back. And when I let go of that, boom, I was granted the ability to be in the writer's room and to take care of my kid at the same time in Santa Fe.
That's awesome. As a writer, how do you challenge Hollywood's traditional standards of what stories are considered in demand?
Oh, God. I don't know that. I'm hoping to get there.
Yeah.
I'm currently working on a project with my dad, so I'm writing his unwritten, helping him adapt his unwritten memoir into a script. So, these are my family's, my stories, my dad's stories, and that's in the way I'm going to challenge it. I don't think we're quite there yet. I know Sterling Harjo has done an amazing job of doing that. He just got, a few Peabody Awards for his show. And we're working towards that. When we are able to realize that all of the cultural differences that we have are actually the same human experience that we're having through those different lenses.
Absolutely.
And appreciate them and have respect for them, that's when I feel like we're moving somewhere in the direction. If we're still kind of thinking like, oh, that's just a Navajo story, that's just like a Pueblo story, that's just like a Mexican story, and isolating each of these different cultures from it without realizing the human experience beneath them, I think, we need to get there.
Was your dad on board for this project, or did you have to twist his elbow? Or
God, I actually was working with him on a documentary project years ago, 2023, through New Mexico Arts. We got a grant and a residency at Bosque Redondo.
Great.
And I basically kind of applied for him to be able to explore his indigeneity.
That's awesome.
He was raised as he's a Navajo man who was raised by a white family in Bloomfield. And so he didn't get to experience his own cultural identity through being raised on the reservation or with his aunties. And so I was kind of like providing a space for him that I had while I was at school at Institute of American Indian Arts. That space to just explore like who you are as a Native person through writing or through art. And so when we did this project, we went to Bosque Redondo. We did a mini kind of documentary. He saw a title of books called Through White Eyes that they had there. And he's like, where are our stories? Because they were all newspaper clippings from the Santa Fe New Mexican talking about how horrible and horrendous the Navajo people were for stealing sheep, and they were doing this, and they were raiding. And he's like, well, where are our stories? I said, Dad, that's why you're here.
To tell it.
Like, even if it's a quote, an interpretation of what you're thinking and how you're feeling, like there's this place where our present right now can in some ways change the past, because the past is no longer there, right? It's just this figment of memory in our brains, but we can kind of shape the future and shape our present. Right. And so turns out my dad's a really good student. He actually was one of my students when I was working at Northern New Mexico College as a professor and teaching screenwriting. And he started actually working on his own script, and I kind of took it over. And that's another story, because I was working with the Native American Media Alliance at doing unscripted workshop for the documentary. I was trying to come up with a pitch deck for this documentary I was doing with my dad. And so when I mock pitched a producer from a really popular TV show, he's like, your dad's story sounds amazing. He's like, I would love to see this on the big screen, or if you turned it into a TV show. But he's like, I think this is where you need to take this. So I took him up on that. And so that's what I'm working on a project with my dad right now.
Definitely looking forward to that coming to fruition. What do you see as the biggest challenge in translating written literature into a visual medium without losing the cultural nuances?
Ooh, I hope I can answer that question. Can you ask it again? Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, absolutely. What do you see as the biggest challenge in translating written literature into a visual medium without losing the cultural shadows or nuances?
Okay. This is my own personal opinion. Like, I don't want to say that, I'm not speaking for every Navajo. I'm not speaking for every,
just
Indigenous
yourself.
person.
Sure.
Well, when I was working in the writer's room, it was very difficult to try to take some of the stuff that was written specifically with Tony Hillerman. He did get a lot of stuff right. He's a journalist. He did a lot of research. I believe he even interviewed my own family members for his books. And so to me, it gets kind of more into like the realm of like the lens of the lens of the lens and the truth. And again, back to perspective of different cultures and different perspectives. I'm really in this place right now where I'm feeling like, us individuals and even our culture is the universe experiencing itself through the lens of all these different people and all these different cultures. And, I talked to a medicine man friend of mine some time ago about, what is truth? Or, we have a lot of people who are like, well, when I read this book, or and I read Tony's books, or I read this research book, or I read this anthropology book, or when I did this research, I learned that this. Is this true about the Navajo people? And I'm yes and no.
Yeah.
Because we're not going to tell you everything. I don't care how much research you've done. I don't care how many books you've read. I don't care how many aunties or grandmas or whoever it is that you talk to that you say, you know. You don't know.
There's going to be a little...
You don't know.
Yeah.
And I only say that because even within ourselves, they're so fragmented, right, about memory and our perception, our perspective. It changes, even just individually. And so when we're thinking about one person or one book speaking for an entire culture, it's not going to be that thing. And it will change, and it will constantly change. And so I feel like getting something, quote, right is a matter of relative truth. And what you want to find, you'll find. And what you're going to seek, you're going to seek. I even had somebody come up to me and ask me, he's like, well, what book can I read to find out more about the spiritual practices of the Navajo? I'm like, I could give you a book name. I'm not going to. But even then, like if you truly are a seeker of the truth, you'll find it.
Yes.
And it'll be the truth that is meant for you. And it may be different than the truth that's meant for you.
I get it. You hold a bachelor's degree in geology from Amherst College and work for the Navajo Nation Division of Natural Resources. How does your background in reading the earth and understanding natural landscapes influence your visual storytelling?
Oh, God. Well, the land tells stories, our bodies tell stories, and I'm a storyteller. So I read the landscape. God, man. I want to say I haven't quite figured that entirely out, but my philosophy or my vision for the idea of the land telling our stories is because we're a part of the land.
Yes.
And especially here in New Mexico, the landscape is its own character. That's why people want to shoot here. I know that's a different story, but it's the landscape. We remember where we came from. The earth understands who we are. Every footstep that we take on this land, on the earth, and to the ground, it's just an energetic connection to Mother Earth.
Leaves an imprint.
And so when I want to tell the stories of the land, it's almost inherently telling the stories of the people and vice versa. Because this is Mother Earth, and we're just telling the stories of the millions and billions of years, billions,
absolutely,
that the earth has been formed, and all of the ancient wisdom that has taken from, evolution to bring, these single-celled organisms into life that are still residing in our DNA, that are still residing in our body. And those memories, those ancestral memories, not only just of your grandmas, your abuelas, your Che's, your Nalis, and all those people, it's of the earth from millions and billions of years ago.
We're children of stardust, to say it. You've described your entry into film as purely by accident while trying to reconnect with your culture. What was the exact moment that convinced you to pivot entirely into pursuing dual MFAs from the Institute of American Indian Arts?
Insanity?
Insanity.
Well, this was during the pandemic, and I almost didn't complete the first one.
Yeah.
So isolated, single parent, apart from any other help, really trying to maintain distance from my folks because, I'm sorry, you guys are elderly. Wanted to make sure that I maintained their health. I wanted to keep some separation. I didn't want to be bringing anything to them. And because they weren't a part of my pod. So it was just so daunting to try to complete. And I remember my mentor saying, he's like, I totally understand and get it if you don't want to finish. He's like, I totally respect you either way. If you decide you don't want to finish, you want to put it off for later, because that's your choice.
Yes.
He's like, but I also believe in you that if you truly wanted to finish this, I will back you 100%. And I'll do whatever I can to help you get across the finish line. I was like, wow. So I'm not going to be a failure if I choose one or the other, if I push myself.
Not at all, yeah.
And he's like, no. And I said, okay. So I did. And then once I got that done, then I was like, wait, you said I can stay in school longer and like do another option? And they said, yeah, you can do another option to do creative nonfiction, which is essentially memoir. So I did that. I went ahead and stayed in for another year, and yeah.
Thank God you did. Yeah. What steps do you believe must be taken next to ensure local Indigenous crew members and creators are moving into executive and above-the-line roles rather than just entry-level positions?
Well, I don't know if it's actually happening currently. I know that a lot of times projects will give a creative consultant the title of associate producer, but we need to do better than that. Absolutely. We need to do more than that, to where we're actually training them to do these things, and not even just training, not even just shadowing. It's a matter of actually giving them the controls to do that. A lot of times what Hollywood will continue to do is they'll bring in their friends. That's just what Hollywood does.
They don't get the access.
They don't get the access. They might get a start.
Yeah.
They might get a role, but Hollywood is still going to be Hollywood, and they're going to bring in their friends. They're going to bring in their friends to be the executive producers and the people that they want up in charge. And that's just what happens, and that's what they'll do. So when we can actually make it a part of a policy, perhaps, that, these are the ways in which you're going to bring a person up the ranks within the room or in a production beyond an associate producer level, then I think that that's what it's going to be. But also kind of, what Sterling did is just take control. Just take absolute control and don't give it back, and then get that experience. Because I know that he even had that trouble with Reservation Dogs and the creative control of where he wanted his show to go with season 3, and that's why it ended. But now he's super successful with The Lowdown with Ethan Hawke, because people are willing. The right people are willing to take those risks and realize and recognize that they're not just giving kind of like a handout to the people again.
Yeah.
Had
enough of that.
Pat the back and say you did a good job. It's about their actual
talent,
respect for the skills and the talent that our local people have here. Awesome.
You've worked alongside massive stars like Julianne Moore and Christian Bale right here in New Mexico. What was that experience like?
I absolutely fangirled with Julianne Moore.
She's incredible. She really is.
I got to work with Maud Lebowski. It was just for a day because I was a day player, but man, that was such a treat. I asked her. I had to hug her several times.
Oh yeah.
In the scene, so I was so grateful for that. But I had to make the scene awkward, so I actually asked if I could give her a real hug. Not this weird.
Nothing fake. Yeah.
Nothing fake. And it was just so great to be able to work alongside of her, and also to Jesse Eisenberg. He's a great director also to work with.
Yeah, he is. He really is.
Yeah. And Christian Bale was, okay, wait. So I was working, this was it wasn't a principal role. It was a featured background role, but I got to work with him for 3 days. And so I had my child daughter. They had the I kept egging her to go talk to Christian because he was more receptive of the kids than he was, let's just say, of the grown-ups. And so I said, for his character, he kept chewing on lemons. He kept chewing on lemons because I guess it's Stonewall Jackson who was had this thing with citrus and I guess ricket. Or what do you get?
Rickets.
Rickets, yeah. Anyways. So he was like part of his character was always sucking on lemon. So they had to keep replacing the lemon for him because that was how he was operating his character.
Well, at least he stayed hydrated.
Yeah, and so then this one time, he asked for a Diet Coke because the PAs were like, Christian, is there anything I can get you? And he's like, I'll get a Diet Coke. So then I told her, I said, go over to him. I said, go ask him if he, what would go great with a Diet Coke. So she did. She went over to him. She says, Mr. Bale, do you know what would go great with a Diet Coke? And he looks down at her. He's like, a lemon. And she's like, yeah. She comes back.
How cute.
Yeah. And so I kind of egged that on. I was like living vicariously through the kid.
Yeah.
To like joke with him. But anyways.
Don't we as parents do that, though?
Yeah. He was funny. I liked him.
Great. You shared a powerful goal of one day owning your own studio and becoming a studio executive. What kind of foundational framework are you trying to build right now to make that dream a reality for the next generation?
Oh, God. I need help. Help me. I'm holding this vision just so that if like anyone's hearing and listening, they're like, oh, I want to do that. Or like, or who does she think she is? She wants to do that. I'm like, I'm going to do it. And I'm like, great. Because that's what we need. Like either way, either I'm holding this vision, not only just for myself, but maybe for my kid, or anybody else, someone who is just like, I've had it with this industry, not this industry, but like say a different industry. Because again, I came in it from geology. I was doing something completely different before and just be like, yeah, I want that calling I want this vision to be like a calling to that person, or even just to hold it for myself, that, that we can do this, that this can be done, that, just in someone's space, that we can create our own space here. And to remember that you don't need to be invited to the table. Just pull up a chair, say, hi, I'm here.
Visualize it and it'll happen.
Yes.
Yeah? What upcoming projects are you presently engaged in that you can share with us?
Ooh, I just got off the set with Brent Morris.
No, really?
Yes.
Wow.
He's proof of concept. So myself and a few others, I don't want to give too much away because this is a Brent project.
Nope.
But
Tell us what you can,
Yeah, it's a proof of concept that he's working on. And we're hoping again that this is something that can be, on your screen, on the big screen. Hey, I know we've got the little gadgets that we hold in our hands, but anywhere, just an outlet for creativity. It was so nice to be able to work with people. I love the New Mexico film community. It really is a family, getting to see people that I've worked with 10 years ago, 8 years ago, last year that I completely forgot. I'm sorry, but, or new faces. There was at least a student or two learning how to be on set, learning how to be PAs. Someone I think was studying criminology at UNM Gallup or somewhere else. And anyway, it's like, I love this. I love being able to be on a set and learning something new about yourself, having a new skill, discovering a hidden talent. That to me is just huge. I think it's just, for me, the excitement with the film industry is because I didn't realize that I had this in me. And so for me to see that experience in other people, like, whoa, I didn't realize that this could happen, or I could do this, or learning to work as a team, learning how to set something up, having agency, knowing skill sets, and just how that can transform a person into having confidence and just knowing how to be a director, guide people, teach people, and learning how to be a creative, and that it takes a lot of work, a lot of heart, a lot of sweat, a lot of communication, listening to people. I've just learned so much from being on a film set that to me it's just like the best learning ground.
Yeah. Is there anything you'd like to convey that I may have overlooked?
Of anything?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm grateful to be here. Thank you so much for this.
Yeah. Thank you for
Viva.
Krista over there putting it together.
Yeah, Krista. Viva Viva New Mexico. Long live New Mexico.
Yeah.
I think maybe just for other reasons, someone said that, New Mexico is the place to be. That we're a stronghold. This is still the Wild West. This is still a place where, we can plant our dreams. And, with some care, some attention, diverting the water in a respectful way, understanding our resources, community, support, all of the things that we might think we need in this industry or in anything else can be found by just really being of the earth, being of the land, and what this beautiful, beautiful part of the country has to offer for its people. I just think it's amazing.
One final question, DezBaa. New Mexico is considered to be the chili capital of the world. What's your preference, red or green?
Green.
Ah, the green girl. I like that. Roasted green chili. Nothing like it.
Yes.
Nothing like it. The esteemed, the actress, screenwriter, independent producer, and professor. I still call you professor, right? DezBaa. It has been a delight to meet you, girl.
It's a delight to meet you as well. Thank you for having me.
You betcha. Anytime you want to come back, just call Krista.
Will do.
All right. For Viva New Mexico, I'm your host, Jamie B.